And February is Black History Month. It's a celebration of history, achievements, and contributions of Black people across the country and across the globe. KTIV's Nathan Price has the story of the contribution made by one unsung hero right here in Siouxland.
Many people know about the Lewis and Clark expedition to explore land acquired by the U.S. in the Louisiana Purchase. But some may not know about the unsung heroes that were a part of the Corps of Discovery who made the historic trip. One such individual is a man known simply as York. His story comes to life at the Lewis and Clark Interpretive Center in Sioux City.
York was a slave belonging to Captain William Clark. They'd grown up together, essentially. And so when Clark went on the expedition, he brought York along.
This would make York one of the first Black men on record to have ever been on land that would later become the Western United States. Jackson tells me that even though York was enslaved, he played a big part in the Corps of Discovery and enjoyed many freedoms, from being able to vote in group decisions to being allowed to carry a weapon, which at the time was unheard of. Jackson says York was also the first Black man that many Native tribes had ever seen.
The fiercest warriors would paint their skin dark to show that they were the fiercest warriors. So of course when the tribes saw York and his dark skin, they kind of caught, oh, you must be, big chief. I've always found that a great thing. And they called him Big Medicine because of that.
And it was York who was tasked with tending to Sergeant Charles Floyd, who became ill, died, and was buried on land in what is now Sioux City.
A lot is known and not known for sure about his life, but it's a very interesting story, and we love sharing it.
And it is through sharing the story of York.
My voice and my story will be heard for generations and generations to come.
In Sioux City, Nathan Price, KTIV News 4.
To learn more about York and other unsung heroes of the Lewis and Clark expedition, you can visit the Lewis and Clark Interpretive Center on Larson Park Road right here in Sioux City.